So a few weeks ago, you guys probably saw my review on the Cyke bike. This is a super high-powered, mid-drive mountain bike with beefy tires. This thing is an absolute machine. But today, we're gonna make this thing even better. I'm gonna be upgrading several parts on this bike and taking it out on the trail and seeing how much better this bike performs than it already does. Let's get to it. So let's quickly go over some of the parts that I'm gonna be putting on this bike and then go over the details on each of those parts as I install them. First up are the parts from Fun MTB. Some brand new awesome bars, some killer lock-on grips, a super awesome looking stem, and one of my favorite parts from Fun already are some awesome clipless pedals. X Fusion dropper post with an X Fusion lever. And then I'm gonna throw on a pair of Hunt E-All Mountain wheels and we're gonna set this thing up tubeless. All right, so that's all the parts. Let's not waste any time. Let's get the old stuff off and the new stuff on. But before we get to those upgrades, let's talk about today's sponsor, Upway Doco. Now, if you're looking for your next new or certified used e-bike, Upway Doco is the place to go. They offer every style of bike out there, plus they offer brands like Aventon, Cannondale, and even Specialized. And I'm gonna let you guys in on a little bit of a secret. They're running some killer sales right now. From August 28th to the 29th, you can get $225 off their entire website. And not only that, they're having a major Labor Day sale coming up. From August 30th to September 9th, over 100 bikes are gonna be marked down with discounts as big as $2,500 off. And they're gonna have other select items on their website that are marked down 80%. This is absolutely massive. So if you guys are looking for your next bike, you're gonna wanna check out Upway.co. And whenever you get ready to check out with your next e-bike, make sure you use my coupon code, all caps, RunBikeMike. That'll save you $150 off your next purchase. So a huge thanks to Upway.co for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get back to the Cyke bike upgrade build. The first upgrade I'm gonna do is probably the easiest and most straightforward. I'm gonna install the stem, the bars, and the grips. We're gonna need a 5, a 4, and probably a 3mm Allen key for this. So taking the bars off your bike first, whenever you wanna remove all the components on it, makes it a little bit easier. You're not stretching the cables or the actual hydraulic hoses. That was super easy. Now let's install the new stuff. So the first thing I'm gonna install is this awesome Crossfire stem from Fun MTB. This is a 35mm stem and it fits a 31.8mm bar. First thing you wanna do before you tighten down the side bolts is put on the stem cap. This thing is what's gonna cinch this whole thing together, and then you can put down the real clamping power on these side bolts. This top one should use about 5 Newton meters. Go ahead and tighten these down just a little bit, and then we'll also torque these down later. Now all the bolts on this stem, except for the top cap, require 6 Newton meters of torque max. One thing I really like about Fun stems is that they actually do the no gap style stem. That makes it super simple to install. You just basically thread these top bolts down until there's no gap up top, and you don't worry about the gap on the bottom. You then torque everything to spec and you're good to go. Next up are the Fun Kingpin bars. These things look absolutely awesome. I've tried some other Fun bars and they work flawlessly, but these Kingpins in black look stunning. You've got a glossy logo with a matte finish. This has a 30mm rise and is 780mm wide with a 31.8mm diameter. And one thing you'll notice on the Fun Kingpin bars, they actually have marking points on each side, so you don't have to measure them if you want to cut them. If you want to take 15mm off these bars, you just simply go to the 15mm line, make the cut, and then the same over on the other side, you know you've got it even. Ooh, these bars are wide. Now these grips are called the Combat One and they're made by Fun MTB. Super light, grippy texture, but it's super grippy on gloves. So if you're wearing gloves, this thing will grip onto your gloves like nobody's business. Plus they're dual lock on and the bar ends are actually lock on too. Really nice touches, really good looking grips. Next up are my favorite pedals from Fun MTB. These are the Mamba S. You can get these in single-sided or double-sided clip-in. I personally like them in the double-sided because I'm always clipping in my mountain bikes, but it gives you a nice big platform that has the option for pins. These things are the perfect size for all mountain riding. Now these pedals are going to take an 8mm Allen wrench, a little bit bigger than some of the other brands, but it's definitely good because you won't have to worry about stripping these out whenever you try to install them or remove them. So next up, I'm going to tackle the tubeless. Now these are the Hunt E-All mountain wheels. These are super awesome wheels that come in at a really good price. They're aluminum construction with boost spacing, and I chose to get the one with the HG hub because that'll work perfect with the cassette that's on this bike. So this will work perfect for the maximum tire size of 3 inches wide, which just so happens to be the same tire size that's actually on the Cyke bike. Let's go ahead, get these unboxed, get the old tires off the old wheels, and get these set up tubeless because these bad boys are tubeless ready. Absolutely flawless, super easy to make these things tubeless. These things are so wide. I can't wait to get these out on the trail. First we have to add sealant, and then I have to add the disc brake to the other side over here, and then we can mount them up on the bike. And I always use Stan's no tubes in all of my bikes. I've used this for years and it's never let me down. And I'm gonna start out with 2 ounces and we're gonna see if that seals, and if it does, then we'll just leave it alone. But if it doesn't seal, we'll add another ounce and keep doing that until the tire is fully sealed permanently. Something that's really cool is all Hunt wheels come with these caps for your valves, and they have a valve core remover built into them. Now I'm gonna air these up to about 25 to 26 overnight to make sure that they hold air. But on a tire of this size, I'm probably gonna be running around 19 to 20 PSI. Now, if you were to buy wheels, you wanna make sure that you get the right bolt pattern. Some will be center lock and some will be 6-bolt. This particular wheel is a 6-bolt that came stock. So on the Hunt E-All mountain wheels, I made sure that I got 6-bolt. Now to get these off, it's not a standard Allen key, it's a Torx bit. So you're gonna need a T25 Torx bit to be able to get off these bolts. Okay, so the front wheel is super straightforward, but the back wheel, it's got a lot more going on with it. First, you've got to take off the cassette, and then of course the rear disc, but also you can't forget about this magnet. If you don't have this magnet on here, your bike's just not gonna function. This is like a speed sensor for the bike. Okay, about 45 minutes later, and 2 plugs, one here and one here. These things had holes in them already. This one's kind of sketchy. Haven't plugged one right there before, but we're gonna see if it holds. Right now it feels pretty good. I am sweating like crazy. I'm gonna get these tires on, ride it around outside for just a bit, and then I'll put on the dropper post on another night because man, it is just way too hot out here. Okay, so it's the next day and I'm ready to install the dropper post. The good news is that the tires are holding air relatively well. I did have to add a little bit to this back tire here today, but no big deal. It's holding, and I think once I start riding this, it'll really seal up really well. This is the part that I was wanting to save for last because it's the most challenging. I might have to drop the motor to install this dropper post the way the cable routing goes, but I'm gonna try to do that without having to drop the motor. We'll just have to see. Let's go ahead and let's get started. Okay, this is gonna be the challenging part. I'm gonna try to snake that cable down through here and see if I can work it all the way up to here where the battery goes in. There's a channel for wires. When I take the battery out, I can pop that out. But this is the curve that I'm really worried about because there's just a tiny little hole at the bottom of this seat tube. It's not all wide open like it traditionally would be. And I'm hoping that I can make a nice, easy curve for the cable to be able to be pulled without binding up. So let's go ahead and see if we can get the housing ran. Got it. That's what I wanted to see. Yes, got it. That was much easier than what I expected it to be. Now I just hope the cable cooperates. Guys, it's finally done. The Cyke bike has all of its upgrades done. Let's go hit up the trails. So whenever I was out riding this on the trail, there were a few things that I wanted to take note of. Did the handling improve? And also, did anything else become really noticeable to me? One, the dropper was nice to have. Able to go over more technical stuff with confidence because you can drop that seat down was a big plus. Knowing that these wheels are super durable was also a really big plus. Also, with the tubeless, having a little bit lower tire pressure made this bike grip even more than it already does. Now, if you weigh under about 160 pounds, this bike is gonna probably be more beast than what you wanna manage. I imagine this bike is ideal for somebody who's 190 to 260. This bike needs a heavier rider to be able to handle the overall weight of the bike. The other thing I noticed is I disconnected the cutoff switches because I wanted this to ride like a traditional eMTB, something like what a Shimano motor or a Bosch motor would do. However, the overrun that happens on this bike, meaning after you stop pedaling, the motor continues to go, seems to be pretty aggressive at times. And then the last thing, I think that this bike is great for the trails. It absolutely crushes them. But it is a pretty big workout because of the overall weight. But if you're wanting something that's gonna be fast on the street to commute around and get to where you wanna go and have a massive battery with a ton of power, this bike is an absolute street slayer. With the throttle and setting the speed all the way up as high as it would go, I was able to hit 34 plus miles an hour on the street. That's absolutely crazy. That's well above a class 3 range. So if you do that, make sure you do it at your own risk. All right, guys, there's the Cyke bike. This bike was such a fun bike to experiment with. The Bafang motor was a ton of fun to experience. The 160 Newton meter motor is just something that you have to try to be able to understand how much power this bike actually has. I want to thank Fun MTB for sending me the parts, bicyclestuffonline.com, and also Hunt Wheels. This would not have been possible without those brands supporting me and supporting my videos. And if you guys enjoyed this and you enjoy those products, hit the like button, leave me a comment down below, let me know what you think of this beast and all of these parts and what else you would upgrade on it. But as always, get out there and ride your bike.